What's up, friends? Welcome to the Soul Sister podcast, where we are really just diving into navigating the flow of life. We're talking mental health, we're talking emotional health, we're talking physical health, we're talking all the things that life brings, this and in between. So welcome, and we're happy to have you.
Welcome. I am one of the Soul Sisters. My name's Alyssa. I am recording from Colorado at this moment. I am an LPCC, so I'm a licensed professional counselor candidate. I'm almost fully licensed, which is really exciting. So I'm just in a time of my life where I'm trying to be a sponge and I'm also a yoga teacher and do some like nature-based therapy in the community and lots of other things, which you will learn about if you ever find us out here in this world of wide web.
My name is Emily. I am a certified Reiki master and also a yoga instructor. And I'm really just a woman in her 30s trying to do the damn thing with my friend Alyssa. We've really navigated a lot of life together. We've been friends for 2 decades, which is crazy to say because we talk every day. And I just feel like it's this organic thing where we don't realize that it's been that long, and then you look back at it and you're like, oh shit, like 2 decades. Not everyone makes it that far, you know?
Yeah.
Wild.
And with no end in sight either.
No end in sight.
And that's kind of why we wanted to turn this into a podcast, is because though we don't talk every day, I'm seeing what Emily's doing, or like sending her a picture and then she responds the next day or something like that. And so we knew that we're going to keep using each other as resources, as support in our own, mental health and in a lot of other aspects of our lives. So I think this is just like the final accumulation of like, yes, we're going to keep doing this. So we may as well just see what comes from it. So
yeah. Yeah. And I think for us guys, like really what it is that we don't care if this is just for us or if you guys get something out of it. What we really want is just to have a space to feel all of our feelings and think all of our thoughts, because life is so crazy, especially this day and age. And if you don't slow down and just really take a look at it, then you kind of miss it. And then you wake up one day and you're 80 years old and you're like, damn, remember that friend I had back in the day? She was the best. Wonder where she is. But that'll never be us, because we'll be living in adjointed retirement home rooms. And that'll be great. So yeah, today's podcast, we're really just going to talk about where our friendship started, what it's gone through, and talking about how we got to wanting to record this podcast, as well as hopefully helping you navigate your relationships with other people, whether they be friendships or boyfriends, girlfriends, coworkers, what have you. Just talking about what that looks like and how to keep your communication with them strong. Right, Liz?
Oh, you are right.
Oh, yeah.
And we often talk on the phone. So right at this moment, we can actually see each other. So I think we're both a little extra smiley and giggly because we get to try something new and see each other. But yeah, so I think we touched on like, how did we get to this podcast, just kind of loosely. And, the goal was start January, and we still talked in January and February, but life happens. And so here we are, March, and we're getting after it. And now just like talking about kind of how we got here as friends to where we are, because there's been a lot of like hard work that's been done individually and together, I think, as like a unit. And then as we invited new people into our unit, like we have family and friends and partnerships, and just watching those blossom and being there has been really special.
I think that's such a good point too, is talking about other people like entering your unit, because you can have more than one best friend, but it kind of becomes this thing where like you are so connected on so many levels, especially when you've been with someone for 20 years. I mean, we have been friends for 20 years and different friend groups. We didn't go to the same college. Like after high school, we did not go to the same schooling. We live in different states now. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Alyssa's in Golden, Colorado, and moving all around Colorado. She's been all around it. So it's crazy to think like all the different friends, all the different relationships, all the different partnerships that have come in and out of our friendships, because you take on those energies. And sometimes, you know, people come into your life and the other person's like, no, thank you. Not my cup of tea, which isn't the case for most of the people, but it is the case sometimes. And it's very enlightening and very empowering to feel like no matter where you are in life, you have a person that supports you regardless of the choices that you're making, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's also such an interesting point. You know, when I have clients in therapy, I think one of the, you know, needs on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is like having this sense of belonging. And it's like, you don't need to go out tomorrow and make 20 friends, maybe just finding one or honoring one, and then like blooming from that and learning like, oh, this is how I can be in relationships with others. I get to practice with this one person. And so it's okay to just have one good friend that you're, you know, trying things with. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that's been really a beautiful thing, is like having this security within a friendship, like a very platonic and loving friendship. And then thinking like, oh, I can bring this up to someone else, because if they honor, you know, me as a person and my intentions of like trying to help or give you this perspective I'm seeing, then it's usually received really well. And so having this practice of Emily for so long has really made me a better friend to myself, to other people, to Emily. I would say we definitely had some ups and downs, as friends, you know, should, honestly, or will, with so much like going on in the world, and like we've experienced so much loss together, so many wins, but a lot of like, you know, hard things we've gone through. So it's just been a beautiful balancing board, or baseboard, soundboard.
All the boards. We're having every board, the ironing board, bring it in. We would like that one too. Although I haven't ironed my clothes since about 2011. So we're doing our best.
I only ever ironed my hair, and I don't do that anymore.
Amen. Thank God for the death of the hair straighteners. Just so everyone out there understands, we were both born brunette with straight hair, and we would just in middle school and high school just fry the ever living shit out of our hair, because you know that's what you did back in the 2000s. That was cool.
It was cool to burn your head.
It was so cool to burn your head, and you didn't have like, I remember being so jealous of some of our friends back in high school because they had curly hair, so they would like scrunch their hair and straighten their bangs, and I was like, well, I just simply do not have that for my life. I am just pin straight. And now I'm looking on like, you know, Instagram and TikTok and all of that. And it's like, what were we doing back in the day? Scrunching our hair and straightening our bangs. And I'm like, yeah, it's never part of that. Happy to say, because now it looks hilarious. But back then I was so jealous. Jealous of it all.
And we missed the age of the perms too. So
we did. Thank God.
Secured it on through there with just a little hair straightener.
Amen. So yeah, guys, Alyssa and I met in 6th grade, right?
I think so. Yeah.
6th grade computer class. And our computer teacher has since passed. RIP. We love you for bringing us together. But we met in 6th grade computer class. We were sat next to each other just by fate, by the alphabet.
Yeah.
Of our last name. Yeah, and our computer teacher would get not mad at us, but he would make fun of us all the time and be like, you guys never stop talking. And then at one point, I think he called us Chico, and that's where that was born.
Oh yeah.
I think he birthed Chico. That's what he called us. And we just never stopped loving each other since. And that relationship blossomed through middle school, into high school, through different colleges, into adulthood, and now we're navigating our 30s together, and it's been a wild ride for sure.
So wild. And I mean, you missed the part where we worked together at a nursing home.
Oh my God, we did work together. I forgot. We're so old, I forgot.
Yeah, it came full circle because you were talking about how we're going to end up in a nursing home together. And I was like, but we also started out working together in a nursing home.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing to navigate too, like taking each other's shifts and like going to work with each other and planning our days completely together because we had the same work schedules, and then like played sports together and ate dinner together, had sleepovers all the time.
It
So
was such a
annoying.
dependent relationship. It's so interesting to think about like what a dependent relationship we had. And then now we are separated by thousands of miles, just living independently, but still being like, good morning. I hope you have a wonderful day. You know,
Yeah.
to give everyone a visual, I would wake up at 5 a.m, go to volleyball practice, come back, disgusting, crawl in Alyssa's bed with
Ew.
her. Would crawl in her bed. Her mom would make us breakfast, and then we would go about whatever little activity we had planned for the day. We used to have a very big group of friends that was very expansive, and people would come in and out, and we would just decide like we're going to the zoo, we're going to Kennywood, we're doing all the Pittsburgh things, and then we would go home and fall asleep together in the same bed because even though we had boyfriends, it did not matter. No man can cross this barrier.
Yeah. Those were really good times, but also it's a time in our lives when we had, the ability to have a codependent relationship. Like we had all this spare time and we were designed to kind of like be social. And it's really interesting too, because a lot of those friends like still come in and out, but a lot of them have like moved on with their lives and navigating that too. And just like having all these memories with people who have really changed. And that's okay. And having Emily to be like, oh yeah, remember when we did that? And it's just a nice space to have someone to process things with, which is what we do a lot and what this space is.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a space for processing. It's interesting to like look back and think, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, sometimes I think back to like the person I was in high school or the way that I behaved or what I was known for or what I was battling at the time. And I was only 16, 17, 18 years old. And so it did not go well, as it usually doesn't for most teenagers. And I think about where I am now and I'm like, first of all, so proud of myself. Second of all, it's shocking to me that I had friends, especially one that made it 20 years in Alyssa. And third of all, it's so interesting to hear your perspective on those things. Like I remember being in high school and just, I really had a lot going on in my life, at home that people didn't see. And I remember just being known for being this girl that was angry all the time. And it was a joke, but it wasn't to me. And it was like, oh, haha, like don't get on Em's bad side because she'll come for you, which is still a little bit true in my adult life. But we've, with a lot of therapy, we've gotten through that. But that being said, I remember it's like so cringe to think like I was so angry for so many reasons and it would come out just all the time. And I think about that. I'm like, oh God, no. Oh, I can't believe. And then I'll talk to you and you'll be like, I remember that situation totally differently. Like, I don't remember that at all. Or I admire this about you. And I think that's what's so important about having friends, let alone having friends for this long, is people don't see you the way you see yourself. And you need that outside perspective. You need that wake up call to be like, it's never actually as bad as you think it is, or it's as bad as you think it is. And you have someone next to you to hold your hand.
What's the plan here?
What's the plan? What are we doing?
Yeah, well said. And that's kind of like, we're just trying to flow with this podcast and just find our flow and continue to find it together. And that's kind of really how I've grown a lot as a person. I was actually just reflecting on like, those cringeworthy days when we would have to find like prom dresses and all of that stuff. And like, it was such a difficult time, even though it was supposed to be like this celebration. And it's just like, the gaze of the people who were in your lives then and all these pressures. And just knowing I have Emily to look back on that with and commiserate has been nice to know that I didn't go through all of those like awkward times totally alone. And, for some people out there, maybe you don't have your childhood friends anymore, and that's okay. But finding those people who you can like talk about your past with, or think your plans for what you need help with. That's one of the main tenets of a good friend, no matter how long you've known them.
Absolutely. I think too that you know, that's such a good point that they don't have to be your lifelong childhood friends. I'm grateful to know you for 20 years, but I also have I have a friend who I met by accident. You know, she used to date someone close in my life and she no longer does, but I kept her anyways. And I'm so grateful to have her because it feels like I've known her for years. And the reason is because the relationship has similar energy to the symbiosis that we have in that open communication. And it's like, you're living your life. I support you. Maybe I don't love all of it. Maybe I don't love some things, but I'm never, ever not going to be there kind of thing. So if you have your childhood friends, 10 out of 10, you know, good for you because they've seen you in every era of your life and they deserve a good medal. But if you don't have your childhood friends or you didn't have a lot of friends growing up and you're coming into adulthood and you're making new friends or you're making new relationships, that's okay too, because you can still find value in your people. It's just understanding how to navigate it and understanding what that person needs, but also being very clear about what you need from a friendship level as well.
Absolutely. I think that's some of the main discussion points in therapy that I have had with my therapist and I have had as a therapist for others is like, I just want to make friends that feel more like I'm connected more to them. And like some of these friendships feel like they're not as deep as I want them to be. Like, how do I deepen my friendships? Or what are some things I can do to make friends that have similar interests than me? And I think it's sometimes things we take for granted as people who have hobbies or, you know, just really like going and doing things alone and can find people, you know, out in our alone adventures. And so it's a lot of just empowering too. Like, you know, here's some places you could go near you that like has a book club at this time, or there's good coffee here. Go sit and like just be out in the world and maybe you'll like meet people or, you know, find a cool community. And so I think a lot of like therapy is community and talking about what that looks like. There's such this taboo around therapy where it's like, oh, you have to be like, you know, really struggling to even engage in it. And that is just not true. And I think that's another, you know, high horse hill I'll die on is that like you can go to therapy and it might literally be just like, how do I navigate this friendship? Like what's a different way to look at this because I'm, you know, stuck in this thought process and I need a different perspective. And sometimes that's all friendship is too. So therapists are just your really healthy friends who are not going to invade your boundaries.
And have your boundaries. Make sure you have boundaries and know that you are not a selfish person or a self-indulgent person or a bad person just because you have boundaries. You are allowed, you are entitled, they are yours. And also, just for future reference, therapy is a hill we will both die on. Everyone should be in therapy. And it should be just a PSA to the American government. It should be regularly available to quite literally everyone, regardless of what you've gone through in life. We love us some therapy. We're both in therapy. Alyssa is a literal therapist. I work with energies that lead to like different things that I talk to my therapist about. So 10 out of 10, we're always going to recommend therapy. But I think that's such a good point that you brought up, Liz, where navigating relationships is so hard, you know, like not like just romantic relationships, friendships. It's so hard. And it is, especially as an adult, it's the meme that we see online, right? Where it's like adult friendships be like, hey, are you free this day? No, but I'm free in 5 months. And it's true, but it's what do you do in between the 5 months, right? Like, what are you doing to make that person feel valued? Or are you asking for and being communicative about the things that make you feel valued? Do you know, right? Like, do you know what makes you feel good and have you express that? Because a lot of the times when you're just in a surface level relationship with people, it's really hard to be like, hey, this is what fills my cup up and I need you to do this for me so that I can do this for you. And it's weird. It's like a weird conversation that you have to have, but it's also a necessary one because otherwise you can start to feel like your relationships are one-sided, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're not into therapy, you might not want to be engaged in this podcast, but maybe you just think we're so charming. Continue on.
Fair.
But yeah, I think, again, so well said. And this is not a space where we're like telling you what to do, because every relationship is different. But it is, like setting boundaries and communicating and, having plans to look forward to in the future, even if they're a year away. Like having friend dates where it's like, okay, let's just call each other like sometime next week. Or as an adult, literally finding time, like what block and slot will work for you. My friends at in our 30s, we have a family calendar in Colorado, so we can see like where are our friends, who's doing what. And so I don't have to ask someone and then be like, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time on that day, because I kind of know what they're up to. A lot of that is involving like dog sitting and all that good stuff too. But it has been nice to just like feel connected to my friends on a calendar and see what they're up to.
That's amazing. I did not know you had that calendar. That is such a good idea. Why do we not all do that? Take this away, people. Take it away. It's so cute. I love that. Because people's feelings are so easily hurt when you like they feel like you literally never have time. And it's like, no, look at why I don't have time this month. That is such a good idea.
And it's not like my work schedule or anything. It's just like things we're all looking forward to. So it's like, oh, do you want to jump on that? Or I see you're not available this week, and I'm not going to like tell you about how I'm so excited about this thing I'm doing with all your friends and not you. It's just a way to be like a little mindful of like where these moving parts are at. And that's like also just like a therapeutic tool too. Is like, what are just some tools that you can use within your friendships that can make them richer or make them easier to manage? Because like Emily said, like it's sometimes just simply not easy and you have to put in work, but how can you make that work more worthwhile, more fulfilling, or just less work?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That is such a good, I'm stuck on this. This calendar is baffling me. I love it. But it does make me think about the fact that like, your group of friends in Colorado, you love them so much that you have a fucking calendar, dude. Like that is love. You know what I mean? And it just makes me think about like how if you want something, if it's something that's important to you, if your friend is important to you, I don't care if it is for 30 seconds, you will make the time and effort. And I think that's why we work. I think that's why the calendar works. I have a friend that she works opposite of me. I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and she is a bartender and a night owl. And we don't find a lot of time during the weekends because she's working and there's things going on. She lives far away. And so we get up twice a week and we drive halfway because we live about an hour and 10 minutes from each other. We drive halfway and we walk. That's what we do. We walk and we talk. And it's like, yeah, we're moving our bodies. We're doing some physical exercise. That's important to us. But also it's just some girl time, like it's just some time. And it could be a day where the night before she worked until 3 a.m. and she still shows up. And that makes me feel valued. In addition to the fact that she realizes that we're meeting at 6 a.m. and I work at 8:30.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna drive out there to talk to you, right? So it just, the calendar is bringing me inspiration to say, if there are people in your life and you love them, regardless of how long they've been there, they will be there a lot longer if you make them feel valued. And it's not about gifts and it's not about material things. It is literally about making people feel like they are important to you and understanding how to do that. But love language is such an overutilized term, but I feel like it's so important.
I was just going to say that.
The love languages. What's your love language?
My love language is the words of affirmation. And I know that that's something I'm really good at giving, and it's something I love to receive. But I know people whose love language is, acts of service. Another love language is like just remembering little details about someone, like knowing like, oh, you don't like this particular flavor of hot sauce or something. Like just having friends who just remember things about you and knowing what each love language is theirs and how to scratch that for them. What's your love language?
don't know. I feel like it's everything you just said. I feel like I have multiple love languages, right?
That's
Like
fair.
maybe it's a thing that my love languages change with the person. Like I feel like my friendship with you, that my love language is both words of affirmation, but also like action, right? Like we talk, we support, we value, but also we do what we're going to say we're going to do. And I love that. And if I, right. And if I turn the tables and I think about other friends, like I think about a friend that I have that my love language with her is just the fact that she listens. She doesn't always have a lot to say. She's not the person that's going to show up and like, you know, go over abundance with gifts or anything like that. But she is the person that if you need someone to listen to what you're saying, she is your number one. So maybe my love language changes with the person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know with my fiance, my love language is physical touch, but not in a weird way. Like my love language is, I don't need you to say, not in a weird way, guys. We're not getting weird. But like my love language with him is not that I need him to say anything to me, not that I need him to do anything. I just need him to acknowledge that I exist in the room. So like touch my shoulder, touch my butt, touch my arm, make a joke, like just acknowledge that I'm here. Yeah. So like physical touch in that way. Yeah. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, we may get weird some days. You never know.
Oh, we're definitely gonna get weird some days.
We're open to weird. Not day one.
We're gonna keep it PG today.
No, maybe later. Shout out to your fiance, who we love so much. But I was just gonna say, like, having healthy relationships and not healthy relationships, just having friendships, invites you to open yourself and invites you to expand. And so Emily really just touched on that. Like, yeah, maybe your love language 10 years ago was this specifically, and that is all you could give or receive. And it's like, okay, well, now I don't know my love language. It's so many things, and it's, you know, it varies day to day. And so just really like honing in on that and getting in touch with what that is for each person, I think is some of the juicy bits of life. And like, once you get into the space of getting to honor those things and like feeling loved back, is just like, yes, this is like what I'm on earth for. So let's keep doing that.
Let's do it forever. I feel like love languages translate so beautifully into Reiki and into just any type of energy healing that you might integrate into, because your love language is really just the energy that you're feeling from that person, right? Like they may be physically doing something or saying something, but it's picking up on those energies. And something that I think a lot of people forget is that we are all one, as tacky as it sounds. It's true. Like we are all connected to the same source. We all have a soul, and those souls go back to the same source. And so even though there are times where you may be having a great day, but I'm not having a great day, you still feel that because you're my friend and we are connected in that way. And so when you go through things with your friends and you understand what your love languages are and how you value each other, the energies that you pick up off of that are like literally what fuels your soul. It's literally what allows you to continue to thrive in the space that you're in. And that's part of the reason why they're so important, you know?
And we have a pretty neat story about Reiki, I'm sure we'll get to someday. But yeah, honestly, so beautifully said. And we're also going to get into kind of like psychedelics. And, you know, that's one of my main takeaways from experiencing psychedelics is like this concept that we're all one, and really feeling that and allowing that to be a part of your life, especially with your loved ones, and sometimes not your loved ones too. It helps to de-escalate in situations when, you know, you might not be getting along with someone or something has upset you, to like stop and think, you know, this person is just like me. This person is a person too. We come from the same energy space. So yeah, I love where this went.
I do too. I was going to say, coming off of that though, have you ever encountered something? So let me back up. Recently, I took a trip to Miraval, Arizona, which is basically a energy wellness yoga retreat down like an hour past Tucson. And something has stuck with me where the woman said, oftentimes you feel like you're being a bitch because your first impressions of people, like you can tell in 30 seconds whether or not you want to receive that or not, whether you like the person, and you second guess yourself and think like, oh, like you're just being judgmental or you're being a bitch or like maybe you're in a bad mood today, blah, 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 but you're not. It's just that you intuitively understand energies very quickly. And so in a very short time period, you can decipher whether or not you like someone or not. And it's just literally based off of a feeling. And so it makes like what you just said makes me think about like, have you ever been in a space where you click with someone and you're just like, oh my God, like this person, I feel like I've known them my whole life. And that is so amazing, right? And you create value just in 2 minutes of talking to them. And then you end up like continuing throughout your day. And maybe like you spent the whole day with them and didn't expect to, and so on and so forth. But also on the flip side of that, and tying it back to talking about boundaries, it is okay if someone is in your space. Like, let's say one of your friends, let's say Alyssa says to me like, hey, we're going to go to this brewery and I'm inviting so-and-so and we'll all meet up. Great. Sure. Let's all go. And I meet so-and-so and I'm like, no, not for me, not my thing. I can deal with the social situation, but immediately I understand that like this goes past comfort for me. Right. And the person could do nothing wrong, like literally nothing wrong. It could just be a no. Like a no for me, dog, you know? So I think that ties in beautifully to understanding not only your love language, but also understanding your boundaries within people. And if you can do that with strangers, because essentially your friends are just like these weirdos that you picked up on the side of the road one day, like stray dogs, and you decided, right? Like you're just like, I'll take this one home, put it in a box. I love it. It'll be with me for life. And you decide that. And it goes way past just like common interests or like these superficial things. It goes way past just like we played volleyball together or we worked together or he's, you know, she's the wife of my fiance's friend or whatever. You know, right? All of those things are relevant, but it really goes way past that in terms of like understanding the true meaning of what it is to be friends with someone, why it is so special and how you value it. It's really on a soul level. It's on a mental level and it's on an emotional level, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
Your humbly correct opinion.
Correct for me. What may be correct for us may not be correct for others, and that's fine. But Absolutely. Correct for me anyways.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And, you know, where do you want to give your energy? And, you know, maybe some days that one friend that just totally fuels you is just being a drag. And maybe that's the time where it's like, hey, is something going on? Because what I've found is that if you can tell, it's probably even worse than what you think it is. And some people are not able to ask for help, especially with their loved ones. So just, you know, taking moments of gratitude for having people like that in your life who check in with you and vice versa, I think are little gifts from God, truly. Or backwards dog, no matter.
They're both gifts from God and your dog and my dog and all of the dogs. We also love dogs here, so you'll hear us reference that a lot. But yeah, that's a good point. And I think also just taking that one step further and understanding that if you're not receiving those little gifts, it's okay to understand that like sometimes your friendships expire. Sometimes people are your really good friends. I know you and I have had many of them where they were part of our core. And then all of the sudden you start to get this feeling like maybe we're going separate ways. Maybe we don't align anymore. Yep. Break it up, baby. Maybe we don't have the same life views now that we're older, and that's okay too. It's okay that some people are only meant to be a chapter instead of the whole damn book, you know?
Which is sometimes the hardest bits. It's like friendship flopped on its head. Like, oh wow, we've put in all this work and really like you are a part of me and will always be, but now you're not anymore.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, actually. I've been thinking about, I'm sure you can think of the person I'm talking about. I've been thinking about just reaching out and being like, hey, I still think of you. I still want you to do well. I still want to see you thriving. And it makes me happy that online, I don't really, first of all, I don't love the internet, but it does make me happy that I can see someone like that and see that they're still doing well and they're still around, and that makes me happy. But I just don't have the capacity that I once did to foster that friendship because I felt like it was going in two different directions. And I'm struggling with navigating those feelings, to be honest. Like, is it appropriate to reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking of you? Because if I reach out, then it may turn into that person saying like, let's hang out. And I don't want to. Like, I don't want to do anything except for say like, I'm thinking of you and I hope you're well. Yeah. But I feel like it might go past that and I don't want it to. So like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about that, I place myself in different friendships where I feel the same way. And it's like advice will not be given here because I feel the same and have similar questions. And it's like in the same vein, would it upset them if we reached out?
Yeah.
Like, would that be really hard for them? And, you know, maybe they're not in the same place where we are to, you know, try to wish them well.
That's
I think
true.
For me, like overall, the world is a place where if you should like feel a way, you should share that positive feeling. Like the world is too sad sometimes to not reach out. So I think, you know, every so often when I feel inclined, I'll try to reach out to someone, even if like I don't know how it will be received, or if they have the same phone number, or you know,
that's fair.
And you're being really vulnerable, putting yourself out and saying that because you might not get a response, and that has to be okay. So yeah, I think that's something that will always be a struggle to navigate, and kind of just placing each experience, like, is this something that might bring them joy?
Yeah,
that's
such a good point of view to like take yourself out of it, because I was truthfully and a little bit selfishly just thinking about me. Like, how is this going to make me feel? What do I want to happen? What do I not want to happen? But flipping it and thinking like, does this bring them any value? Like, is it gonna be hurtful? Is it gonna be impactful? Is it gonna just be neutral like it is for me? That's such a good point of view, because I definitely was not thinking that way.
Yeah, I think that way a lot too with like exes, because there are so many people in my life that I, you know, have cared about. But when I think of the end goal, it's like, I don't want to reconnect with you. I don't want to like have a long conversation, but like there were parts of my life that like I think about you still. Like this, you know, this thing reminded me of you. And I know it shouldn't be, you know, often, but it does cross my mind sometimes. Like, should we even, is that appropriate? Like, I don't know. I think in some instances, no.
For me, I think my experiences are so different than yours, because I know your exes. I can think about like some of the people that you could just check on and genuinely be like, hey, hope you're well. I do not believe I have any of those people. Shout out to my exes. I don't believe any of them want to hear from me, and I don't want to hear from them. And that is totally fine. But I have to agree. I think that, especially because of like where we are in life and how much everyone has moved on from that point in life, regardless of which relationship it is, I feel like if you take the point of view that you started with, which is, does it bring them any type of value? Probably not. Probably not. Relationships are so sticky, like romantic relationships, obviously. All relationships are, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure most people feel that way though. You know, a song comes on and you're like, man, we listen to this every day for like a week or a month. And you're like, wonder if they think about that when the song comes on, or when you smell something or eat something or go somewhere, you know?
Then like hearing you say, you know, I don't think there's any like exes that would like I would want to reach out to. And then I think about someone who's maybe a little like, I don't have any ex friends that I would want to talk to me. And I bet that that's a perspective that's held. I don't think it's held by us too much.
Yeah.
But I would bet that there are people who just are like, nope, that's not a part of my life now. And that's has to be okay. But
totally.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Definitely interesting stuff. Such a great way to dive into like considering people outside of your own ego and self, you know, ego not meaning egotistically, but understanding that everyone has an ego, and sometimes that fuels why we want to do things, rather than it like actually being our soul. So taking the time to look inward and think, is this going to fuel me in any type of way, or is this just my ego saying like, I wonder if someone thinks the same way as me, I wonder this, I wonder that. And it's short term, it's short-lived, right? Like it's this sense of I have it now, almost like Amazon Prime, like I get it immediately and then it's gone. It's like instant gratification that you don't really need.
Yeah, it's like if I thought about this person, maybe I should let that simmer and not reach out. But maybe if like I've been reminded of this person 20 times in the past week for some like random reason, not creepy, like I want you to be my friend again, tell me about your life kind of thing, then maybe that is the time to reach out. I was just talking at work the other day. I read a statistic, and don't quote me on it, but like we meet like 50,000 strangers like in our lifetime. I don't know, maybe in the year, but honestly, just considering like how many people that I talk to, I maybe never get their names. I just, will be sitting at a brewery and we're like, wow, this beer's so great, or like the weather is so nice, and that's it. So many people we encounter in a day, in our lives, in work, in passing at the grocery store. And so it's just like, how much of myself can I like give to that? To my own like really good friends, to my own acquaintances. There's just so many areas and categories for like friends and connections, and navigating that is just so variable.
I will say shout out to you. I really feel like I would have not, I think I'm a communicative person. I think that like I can make friends, but I don't think I would have made as many friends if it weren't for you, because you are the person that goes into the bar and sits down and has a beer and it's just like, what a beautiful day, to like the random person next to you. And I'm the person that goes into the bar and sits down and I'm like, don't anybody fucking talk to me. Like, I just want to sit and enjoy my beer in peace. Goddamn. And so I thank you for that, because I really feel like a lot of my experiences have been made so special, and a lot of my friendships outside of you I had because of my relationships with you, and some of them I still have, because of you. So thanks for being amazing. I love you.
Yeah, I mean, I love you. And I think having hype people in your lives are just so fucking important. And Emily is my hype girl. I am not my own hype girl enough, and that's something I'm really working on. But like, I can be the hype girl for the stranger that I just talked to for 5 seconds, and they tell me their life story, and I'm like, "You've got this.
Yeah, you are that person.
You didn't ask, but I have some ideas."
That is so you. But I think that stands for a lot of people. So everyone listening to this, put your pinkies up. Pinky promise. In 2024, we are being our own hype women. You can still have your bestie. They can still hype you up. You can still have your girl gang and let them bring you joy. But we're going to hype ourselves up in 2024. We're going to know that some days our best is our best and we're doing damn good. And some days our best is waking up. And that's damn good too.
Yeah. Mic drop. I think that's a good place to just let that simmer.
All right. Well, friends, we thank you so much for tuning in to our first ever podcast episode. I can't believe it that we've come to the end. I'm so proud of us. And we thank you for navigating friendships with us, and we will talk to you again soon.
Cheers.